Hey everyone, welcome back to Will Small Engines. In today's video, we're going to go over the winterizing procedure on my lawnmower. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Also, sorry I haven't posted a video in like a month. I have just been jam-packed with school, grade 12, so pretty busy year. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get right into winterizing this here lawnmower. Also, the steps that I'm going to take you through in this video will work on pretty much any other lawnmower. I'm just doing it on my lawn boy, so yeah. So the first step you're going to want to do is, for winterizing your lawnmower, is going to be either run it out of gas completely or put stabilizer in the fuel and run it like that to keep it in the carburetor. So what I'm going to do is, I've already ran the carburetor out of fuel because this lawnmower comes stock with a shut-off. So last time I cut the grass, excuse me, I turned it off and let the carburetor run out of gas, completely dry. So now what we're going to do is drain the fuel out of the tank into this pan, because the fuel in here, it's still good to burn on other equipment. I just don't want to leave it in here over the winter, because if you leave gas, so the whole reason behind draining the fuel out of your equipment is because you're going to want to drain the gas out of your equipment before you store it, because if you don't do it, the fuel will go bad over time and get all gummy and varnishy, and it gums up the carburetor, and you're going to have to fix that, which is a pain. And you might as well take the time now, drain the fuel out. It's easy. It takes maybe 5 minutes to do, guys. It's simple. Do it. You're going to avoid a lot of headache in the spring if you do this now. So we're going to drain the gas out, and then we're going to get on to the next step. Okay guys, so to drain the fuel on this lawnmower, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the fuel line from the carburetor here, and I'm going to run it into my little drain pan here, and then I'm going to open the valve and let all the gas flow into the pan. Okay, so I disconnected the gas line from the carburetor. Now we're going to open this and let all the gas go out. And you can open the cap to get more airflow. Man, I don't think there's much gas left in here actually. Yeah, there's not, just a little bit. So we'll let this drain out for a while, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now we're going to turn the valve back off and reconnect the fuel line onto the carburetor and make sure the valve's closed. And now we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be sharpening the blade. Now, you don't have to sharpen your blade in the fall. I just like to, because then I know in the spring I can just put gas in it, start it up, and get cutting as soon as possible, and not have to worry about sharpening the blade. So now we're going to take the blade off and sharpen it. Oh, and I forgot to mention a minute ago, so whatever fuel you drain out of your lawnmower, make sure you dispose of it correctly. I was going to pour it in my snowblower, but there's not much, so I'm just not going to pour it in my snowblower. I'm going to put it in my waste oil, but do whatever you want with your gas. Just make sure that you dispose of it correctly. Okay, so to sharpen the blade, you're going to have to turn the lawnmower on its side. And this is a 2-stroke, so it doesn't matter which way you turn it over. And we already drained the gas out, so there's no possibility anything can leak. So you take it on its side, like this. And next, you're going to want to get a piece of wood, because we're going to use a piece of wood to jam the blade up when we loosen it with a wrench. So to loosen the blade, I'm not going to use an impact because most people don't have those. I'm going to use a socket wrench. So what we're going to do is find a good corner of the deck to wedge the blade against, and get the piece of wood like this. And then there you go, you can loosen it, and then you can hold it the rest of the way. And just loosen it with your hand. Like this. And it may be a good idea, if the bolt is a little bit stuck, to put a little bit of anti-seize or grease on it when you put it back in. So now we're going to go to the backyard and sharpen it. This is a quick look at the blade. I sharpened it in the midsummer, but it could use a sharpen. A little bit dull. Yeah. And now would be a great time to scrape off the bottom of the deck. But yeah, this one's not bad. I'll probably get it off camera later, but it's pretty simple. Alright, so it's actually a little bit too early, in my opinion, to run the grinder and sharpen the blade in the morning. So while we wait for it to for the day to go on, I'm going to show you guys how to scrape off the deck. So you're going to get one of these paint scrapers and go like this. Pretty simple, right? doesn't take long, and it can prevent your deck from rusting out. This one's aluminum, so there's no chance of it rusting out. So if you have a steel deck, I highly recommend doing this, especially because the decks made nowadays are made of like the thinnest metal, and they rust out really fast. So it's a little messy, but do it because it will save your lawnmower deck, and it also gives better cut quality too. So do this. Okay guys, so now we're going to sharpen the blade, and I like to sharpen my blades outside with my angle grinder rather than inside, because I don't like to get grinder dust on everything. It just makes a mess. So what I usually do is is lag bolt the blade to a stump to hold it in place, and then get my angle grinder and like sharpen it. So I'll show you guys that right now. Let's go. Found a stump in my backyard. Don't lie. It helps to put the lag bolts in with an impact. That's just what I like to do. And then you're going to want to have one edge of the blade sticking outwards down here, sort of, so that you can get on it with the grinder. I should have got washers, but oh well. Whatever. There's one. Oh, that should be good enough, actually. Okay, now I'm gonna get the grinder, and I'll show you guys what wheel I use. Okay, so this is the wheel I like to use in my grinder. It's called a flap disc. It's basically a bunch of little pieces of sandpaper like that, and these put a nice edge on the blade. And unfortunately, I'm not going to show me actually like grinding it, because it blows out the microphone on my phone because it's too loud. But I'll show you what it looks like before and after, just to show that it puts a nice edge. And you're going to want to do the same number of passes on each side. So maybe go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or however many you think it needs to get sharp. You're going to want to do the same number of passes on each side, and apply the same amount of pressure, because you're going to want to get the blade to as close as balanced as you can get. I usually don't worry about balancing them if I do the same number of passes on each side, but keep that in mind. And when you're going to use an angle grinder, make sure that you use your eye and ear protection, because it's loud. Okay, so that was one side of the blade, and you're going to want to make sure, oh, and I forgot to mention earlier, you're going to want to hold it at the same angle as you go, and don't try to go like this way, that way, that way, that way too much. Hold it at the same angle, and like lock your arms and go like this, because you don't want to mess up the edge. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so now that our blade is all sharpened, I'm going to reinstall it. And I mentioned this earlier, you can always put some anti-seize on the blade bolt, just to make sure it doesn't seize in the crankshaft. So I'm going to do that and then reinstall the blade. So to put the anti-seize in the bolt, take this out, and you don't need much, trust me, you need like a little bit. Go like this, little dab. That's good enough right there. That little amount. And now you can just screw it in normally, and it should be fine forever. Okay, so once the blade is back on, now we're going to do the last step. So we're going to have to check the lawnmower back over, like so. And the last step I do is give it a nice wipe off with a rag, just to make sure it's all clean and looks nice. All right, you guys, so with that, that's how to winterize a lawnmower. So if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. And make sure to comment, because I read all of them, and if I don't reply, hey, I still read all of them, so that's pretty impressive. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.